Hey guys, welcome back to Vlogmas Day 13. My name is Topanga Jameson. If you do not know me and you've never watched this channel, my name is Topanga Jameson. I am a college student who does YouTube videos. And yes, Topanga is my real name. Before anybody gets it twisted, but I am going to tell you because somebody asked me if I would do another spooky house time, like story time. And I know it is Christmas, but this actually did happen on Christmas because we did move into this house on December 15th of 2015. Okay. Or no, wait, December 20th of 2015. So it has been almost 10 years, approximately, me living in this house. So, a little backstory. We had been searching for a house because I lived in a 1959 house. It was pier and beam, and it was a very, very dangerous house. It was not very accommodating to somebody who had scoliosis, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So, one day, I decide I am so sick of looking at houses because every house that we put an offer on fell through or was in foreclosure. And you know, those houses that are in foreclosure are just not the best. So, and at the time, the housing market was a little bit different. And so we move into this house and I move into this house. And my mom, how we found this house, because I really needed a house that was more accommodating to somebody with scoliosis. So we decided that we were going to go ahead, and she looks at all the pictures online and everything looks good. She ends up meeting with a realtor, and he at first refuses to show her the house. So we ended up changing realtors, and that's also what ticked me off, is we had to change realtors. It was a whole mess. So then we turn around and we go ahead, and my mom was the first person to see the house. I did not get to see the house until I got the keys for closing. So, and I'm also a college student, so I do want to explain I'm going to school to be a psychiatrist, and I'm also getting my business MBA in business. So I went ahead and I did not get to see the house, so me and my mom had a big fight. And I was like, I really hate this house. We'll go live in an apartment. I don't want this house. So I have to go to the bathroom abruptly. And the house hunting experience for somebody who is on crutches, walker, sometimes in a wheelchair, is very different than people who, don't have to worry about that. So I was very frustrated. I am thankful for what I get. I'm thankful for having a roof over my head. So the first night I stay there, it feels like somebody is watching me. No matter what I do, somebody is watching me. And I got this really feeling like somebody was watching me, but I just felt like, oh, you're in a new house. You're in a new experience. So I go in and I just start looking through the house, and I'm looking at the master bedroom because my mom's like, that is going to be your bedroom, and when me or other people stay, we'll stay in the other bedrooms. So I'm like, cool, whatever. This is my house. So I turn around and we go ahead and we look through the house. At this time, it did not have any furniture. And I do want to say the time we moved in, a blizzard ended up hitting where I live, and it ended up we were still moving in a blizzard. Just picture that. It was a chaotic mess. So one day I go in and I am in the house, and I am having a hard time sleeping, especially in a new place, if I don't know the surroundings. And to make context of this situation, I was sleeping on an air mattress that was queen size, and it was just, that's where I slept. The only thing we had in the house regarding appliances or anything like that was our washer and dryer, because we ended up getting that in first and everything else followed. One day the night that we signed on the house, I agreed to stay at this house because there was no way I could get in the other house, because the ramp at the other house, Pier and Beam 1959 house, was not feasible for me to get up. So we didn't end up fighting it, and the only thing I had was my cell phone, my tablet, washer and dryer, and ramen noodles, because at that time we did not know that I had celiac disease. So I end up staying the night, and the whole night I am up and down. I feel like this breathing on the back of my neck. I feel like somebody has put a very cold hand on the middle of my back, and it feels like the hair on the back of my neck begins to stand up, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's my mom, maybe she's trying to wake me up. So I look, and there's nothing there. So I am like, okay. I start hearing rumbling, and I start hearing noises coming from the attic. There is no way I can get up there. So your girl calls 911. 6 police officers show up at my door, and they come in. So my mom is like trying to get a hold of me because they're coming, and I'm like explaining to her, I think somebody has broken in the house, and I think they are in the attic. In context of this story, we were hearing the garage door open and close, and the garage door code was not changed. So the previous owners still had the code, so we didn't know if they were coming to get stuff. We didn't know what was going on. So at this point in time, we go through the house, and I try to go back to sleep. It is finally 4 in the morning, and I jolt out of bed because it felt like somebody was breathing down my neck. So I want to clarify, we haven't really had that many experiences since that incident. It kind of happens off and on. But the most recent experience, and I know that God protects me, so I'm not scared to talk about this. I just think if God's wanting you to know something, He'll reveal it, and I think that's what happens 9 times out of 10. So then, the most recent thing that happens, I have a friend who has 2 kids, and I watch them for her. So I watch them quite frequently. Sorry, I am having an allergic reaction. Don't mind me. So I go in, and she asked me to watch the kids so she could do stuff and they could move. So I said, sure, homie D, I will totally do it for you. So it happened that Wednesday. I was not that Wednesday I was getting off early because I was making up some hours, and I had come in 7 to 5. So I get off, and I end up watching the kids, And I knew she had told me, watch out for my daughter. She has a very active imagination. And I'm like, hey, didn't we all as kids? I had one. You know, it's typical with a kid, especially that age. So I tell her everything will be fine. So she orders pizza and she has it come and she gets me a gluten-free pizza because she knows your girl don't do gluten. Or not supposed to. So I turn around and I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, blah, 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 but I'll just deal with it. So at this moment in time, the little girl starts saying like the weirdest stuff. And she has this look on her face like I'm doing now. And she looks dead in my eye and tells me, may I go play with the little girl in the other room? And I'm just looking like, okay, at first I'm thinking, oh, she has an imaginary friend. You know, I'm gonna leave it at that. So context for that, about a couple years ago, my sister had brought her whole tribe to come and stay with us, and they stayed in our house. One night when they stayed, my sister swears up and down she saw a little girl that looked like me, but the little girl was darker skinned, and the little girl, so at first she thought it was her kids, and she thought one of them was walking around. So my mind did not jump there. I just watched my friend's kid, and for context, my friend has mental health issues, so I just try to help her out anytime I can, because I understand being a mom and having to have kids is very, very hard. So I watch the kids, and I don't think anything of it. And I just let her go play, and I hear her having a little conversation. I'm like, oh, it's so cute. She has an imaginary friend. Okay. This is where the plot thickens. So she ends up, the parents end up coming and getting her, and I get to meet my friend's fiance. And I'm like, hey, homie G, what's up? Good to meet you. Yada yada. So my friend goes, da da da, this is da da da. I think his name was Nicholas. I'm not 100, don't quote me on that. And she looks me and her mom dead in the eye and she goes, hey mom, I made a new friend today. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, at first I'm like, okay, she's just, and I said, oh, I think she has an imaginary friend. And my friend's like, okay, cool, whatever. No big deal. They leave, and it feels, the moment they walk out that door, I felt somebody put their hand on my back, and it was ice cold. I was like, okay. So later that night, I get a call from my friend, and she's like, hey, did she tell you about this imaginary friend? She goes, I hate to bring this up, but are you pregnant? And I was like, no, homie G, I know I'm fat, but dang. Way to make fun of my body. My body's voluptuous, I understand that. I'm a big girl, I own it. But damn. Don't be calling somebody pregnant. And she goes, the reason I'm bringing it up, my daughter had said something that made me think you might be pregnant. I'm like, okay. She must have been playing pretend because I know we were playing with baby dolls that she had brought over but took with her. And I said, that's the only thing I know that happened in this house. And she goes, well, she told me that she has a new imaginary friend. Well, that's good. And I'm not putting two and two together what had happened years prior to what happened. So the next night, my mom wakes up abruptly because we hear something go crash, boom. And so she goes in the living room, and the Yahtzee game is all over the floor. Dominoes are spread from the bookcase to almost the beginning of where the hallway begins to where the bedrooms go. And she's like, okay. She almost fell on a domino, like slipped on it because they're slippery. And she picks it up, and so for 2 weeks after that, we were picking up the dominoes and we were just putting them in places. So at that point in time, I am sitting there and I'm not putting two and two correlating. So one day, my mom asked me point blank, she goes, hey, who has been here when I haven't been at work? And I said, well, I babysitted for my friend. You knew about that. I did it twice. She paid me. And I explained to her the situation that had happened and occurred with the little girl. And she said, hey, would it be okay if you just didn't do it in the house? Especially since, you know, when we have family or when I come over, could you just please not? I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I respect that. And so when I babysit now, we either go to her house or I just drive around with them in the car and watch the kids while she runs errands. So that is my story time for tonight. I hope y'all have a great day. Bye.